Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who just put $7,000 down in Vegas that the Jason Statham movie, The Meg, will win Best Picture at the Academy Awards. It's John Levengood.
Well, hold on now. I split my bet. It was that or half my money if he wins Best Spin Kick.
Yeah, and I heard they're starting a new category because of this movie.
Well, I mean, you mean the best spin kick to a shark's face?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they can find 5 actors to do that.
So, if they have Jason Statham in this movie, though, like the first thing I thought of when I saw the trailer, not when people first told me the premise, like, because you brought it up to me that Jason Statham was in this before I heard it anywhere else. But when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, is he going to spin kick a shark? And then, of course, you see this thing, the size of this thing, but it's like, is he going to spin kick this thing? I kind of want him to spin kick this thing.
Like, I would love it if there's, like, a detonator on the side of the shark, and the only way he could reach it is to, like, do a spin kick. And then that hits the shark, and then 30 seconds later it blows up.
I think that the shark also has a brain implant, and it is controlled through the thoughts of a sinister Van Damme who rides mounted on the shark while doing a split.
Oh my gosh. That would blow my mind.
Dude, he's like the Daenerys Stormborn of shark controlling supervillains.
Well, that song, remember that Volvo commercial? It's like, who can say where the roads go? That song's playing while JCVD's riding on the shark. I hope Jason Statham isn't a scientist in this movie, because that would remind me of Jerry Butler, the scientist, in Geostorm.
Or Denise Richards, the scientist, in that Bond flick. What was it? The World Is Not Enough. Oh.
I like how Thomas Jane was the shark rider in Deep Blue Sea.
Right, and he was just like a ruffian. He was like an ex-con in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he just knew how to like wrangle sharks, so they kept him around.
He was just a tough dude who wasn't afraid of that finned punk.
He wasn't hitting like the bloop bloops, and he wasn't doing he wasn't writing on clipboards.
Yeah, he wasn't like, talking in a gruff voice and then all of a sudden saying, as you can see the correlation here on this graph of sine waves and science.
The shark had 7.8 gigawatts of seismic activity in its brain.
I really like Thomas Jane, and I think that he's a very good actor, and I think he has a good range. But I don't see him doing proofs on a whiteboard in the hallways of Harvard after hours.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I see him. I definitely think he can math. I do. I just don't see him seeing a chalkboard, like you said, just writing stuff on it.
He can do his own taxes.
Yeah. No, oh God, wait, did this turn into like a really backhanded compliment towards Thomas?
No, Thomas Jane, if you're listening, I love you. You're just a tough dude. You come off as a tough dude or like a normal guy or like a heartfelt family guy. I don't see the scientist, though. I don't see that when I think of casting Thomas Jane.
It was like when Russell Crowe was the Beautiful Mind in Beautiful Mind. You're like,
and he did a very good job at that.
I just felt like he was going to fist fight somebody at any moment.
But you know what else, though? Like, he was walking with that poor posture and speaking in a very soft tone to hide his deep voice. Like, whereas, Jason Statham in this, he's just still like, I'm Jason Statham.
Yeah, he's not hunched over. Thomas Jane could do like a silent, smart guy role. Like, he could be like the CEO where he walks in, he's just kind of quiet and he's smarter than you know.
Well, like, I think I could see him as the brilliantly savvy businessman very easily. That, like the sharp businessman, master negotiator, owning and working a room, like that I see easily. I just have trouble picturing him as the astrophysicist.
I think he throws one of the best cinematic punches, Thomas Jane.
Thomas Jane?
I think he's a good cinematic puncher.
He's a good puncher.
He's not like Harrison Ford, who looks like his arm's gonna explode off of his shoulder.
Well, like Harrison Ford, though, he's like the older dad who's defending his children from a home invader. Like, he's putting his all into every punch. Like, yeah, he's going to throw a rotator cuff and throw out his back and twist his knee. But if he makes contact, that fight ended.
During the movie Firewall with Paul Bettany, people in the movie theaters' rotator cuffs were exploding when Harrison Ford threw his punches. His punches were that crazy that when he threw an on-screen punch, people felt it in the real world.
Wait, what movie was Firewall?
He's a computer guy, and Paul Bettany's got to get a hold of his flash drive.
Harrison Ford was a computer guy?
I don't remember. In Virginia.
That's another thing I can't picture, by the way. As great as his range is, I can't picture him being a brilliant computer anything.
In Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger, he was a good analyst. Like when he puts
Right.
when he puts glasses on and kind of does that kind of stuff, I buy it. But in real life, I just kind of see him typing with two fingers.
He's doing 30 words a minute with those two fingers.
I'm a huge Harrison. What's happening to us?
I don't know.
We're huge Thomas Jane and Harrison Ford fans.
Well, no, I'm just saying, we're saying the one thing we can't picture them doing. That's all.
Gotcha. I mean, he did do some good typing in Patriot Games.
Like, I cannot picture Harrison Ford in the role of Mrs. Doubtfire. It's totally easy to imagine someone like Robin Williams doing that, or even an intoxicated Shia LaBeouf.
I would love to see Harrison Ford as Mrs. Doubtfire too.
Like part 2.
It was a run by fruiting.
It's the sequel.
He hit Pierce Brosnan in the back of the head with a lime.
It was pretty impressive.
That
was a good throw.
That's some good lime work.
It was a good throw.
I mean, alright, so, moving on.
I think that really got away from us today.
Yeah. Yeah. If that was like a fishing line, it just would have taken off well out in the ocean. We couldn't have reeled it back. It gets stuck under a rock or pulling on it for a long time because we don't want to lose the sinker that we have on it and, the hook because we put a lot of money into it.
Fish, it's just stuck on the rock.
Yeah. We basically just got stuck on the rock right there. Oh, and speaking of the rock, I was just thinking about this. We gotta do a podcast about Nicolas Cage's jail trilogy. The Rock, he goes to prison. Face Off, he breaks out of prison. And Con Air, he's stuck on a prison airplane.
I'm down.
He's in a prison trilogy.
Cage Fury. Cage Fury pod.
Right? That's his prison trilogy.
Dude, I am in. I subscribe to your thoughts. I would like to receive your biweekly newsletter by email. I want in.
And if anybody steals Cage Fury or the prison trilogy before we get going, you heard it here first.
I do one of those Harrison Ford punches and throw out my shoulder when I hit you.
We need to get credit or you need to make us associate producers.
Right.
All right. Listener questions?
Listener questions. Okay. Our first listener question comes from The Fear Merchant, who's the host of the Bizarre podcast. And The Fear Merchant asks, thoughts on the resurgence of creature features and monster movies in the last few years after what seemed like decades of drought? For example, the new Godzilla, the Pacific Rim movies, Shape of Water, Rampage.
Yeah, and I also added The Ritual, The Meg, Pacific Rim 2, A Quiet Place. And I think with the success of Godzilla in 2014, which I recently just watched again for some clips, that scene where Godzilla's swimming with those battleships or aircraft carriers is so gangster. It's like, it makes me so happy. I mean, that did really well. And then Kong Skull Island comes out. That does well. Now they're planning a monster universe. Guillermo del Toro has always loved monsters. So he did, Pacific Rim. That was a hit, internationally. So they made the sequel. And then he was able to make Shape of Water, for under $20 million. And then The Rock does whatever the hell he wants now. And Rampage is perfect for him. And then you have The Ritual, who, Bruckner, which we talked about on the podcast, just loves that kind of thing based on the book. I mean, that was made, Netflix actually helped out a lot with that. And I think with the success of those movies, when Rampage got greenlit, they greenlit Jason Statham in The Meg. And also with horror's revival, if you look at it and the success of the horror films last year, I think the kind of creature feature and they realize there's money in that. And creature features are kind of nice because you can make them more universal, which helps with foreign markets. So you can add people from the continents, other continents. You can market it in different continents. It's just a bunch of people battling a large creature. So you can really have like a melting pot of cast, which I think helps as well. And that's my spiel.
I don't even know if it's just the last few years. It almost feels to me like you said, it's more with the revival of horror. I think more like, 2010 to 2012 is the turning point. We even had the movies like Troll Hunter, Willow Creek, which, whatever, that's a mixed bag of reviews, but we quite liked it. Grabbers. Like, there are a lot of movies now with heart. It's like this decade people have come to realize that when a few great filmmakers started to turn to making horror movies and doing very well by them, other people became more inspired to maybe, I'm just talking out my butt here, but maybe to up their horror game. And you have more horror movies, in my opinion, that have heart to it, or that have great characters to it, or that have a clever premise to it instead of just wash, rinse, and repeat. I love the movie Splinter in like 2007 that starred Paulo Costanzo, who was in Road Trip. It was just basically another weird spin on an infectious zombie movie that was really an intelligent, possessing plant life thing. It was nothing special about it, other than the fact that I liked it and I thought they did it well. So it used to be, like, I feel like before this decade, I was always talking about, oh yeah, like they did this idea and they executed it really well. I was always talking about execution. Well, we still do that, but now we're talking about great characters or big budgets or inspired filmmakers. So like, yeah, I mean, I definitely see it in the last several years, that pattern that you pointed out, especially with a lot of the recent kind of blockbuster-ish films is definitely there. But, the resurgence of horror, as you also mentioned, probably sparked that. God, it's a great time, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
We grew up as kids of the 80s. Great time for horror. Suffered through the 90s, but luckily that was when we were discovering girls and maybe not watching as many of them. And then with a little bit of patience through the early 2000s, we've come back into a great time.
I mean, I got lucky in the 90s because Scream came out when I was 14. And then it did the whole teenage horror thing. So I was like a teenager watching those stupid, so it happened to, like, if I was a 35-year-old dude, I would have been like, what the hell is happening? But as a 14-year-old kid, I was like, this is great. And I said it just like that too. But, I think Godzilla, that was very successful, Kong Skull Island, and now you have Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, which shot in Atlanta. Oh, it makes me so happy, dude. This is a good year for creature features.
It's a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. And as you said, I loved it as well. Didn't love the new Poltergeist, but loved it.
And A Quiet Place just broke every record for an original horror film opening with 50 million in its opening weekend. That's a creature feature. So
yeah, I got to see that.
It's so good. All right.
Okay.
Next.
Second question comes from Amazon author of the novel Bad Pennies. This fellow is always sharing our material. Great friend of the pod. This is author John F. Leonard. You can find him on Twitter. Also, the Fear Merchant is on Twitter. John F. Leonard asks, I kind of wondered what ever happened to those giants in Cloverfield. Think I want them to be huge, nasty trees.
I mean, we've podcasted about trees we don't want in our front yard.
We certainly have. That was like in the episode 30 or 3 or something.
And when you watch that creature, when it stands up, it kind of has branches for arms.
I mean, are we to assume that creature with this kind of cheeky comment, perhaps found itself evolving over time on Earth? Did that giant creature or creatures eventually go extinct and get replaced by smaller species that were more successful on our Earth, like those little lice that it had that were the size of large dogs?
Wait, so you're saying there was bigger ones than that big guy?
No, but in Cloverfield, that thing was gigantic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Earth's gravity isn't built, not that movie makers think of this, Earth's gravity is not built for things that big. It wasn't even very forgiving to things like a brontosaurus. But a brontosaurus is small compared to the Cloverfield monster. So, like, that thing is not built for this world. It might overforage an area too quickly. Like, does it die off on Earth where it was invading? And then, like, its little, like, body lice that fell off? Or were they children?
Yeah,
was that a clutch of eggs? They had a lot of legs.
They were like angry remoras. They kind of, like, live on them, and then he, goes, get out of here.
So those things were coming off and attacking people. Like, is that thing the thing that really takes off and has a higher reproductive rate and takes over the planet or something? Or do we have trees that come with that creature wherever it came from? Did it have plant life? Did it have seeds like hanging onto it like a sand spur and a dog's fur coat? Like, there's a lot of things that could have happened here. I don't know what happened to these things. Like, is there a big elephant graveyard of them? Did Jaegers destroy them?
Ooh.
Did we make Jaegers to fight them?
I feel like those little lice on his body are like pollen from trees. Just terrible.
And Mark Wahlberg is terrified of him.
Yeah, they drop those little lice, trees drop pollen, everyone has to buy Claritin. You know, and then once those things come down and scratch you, you get sick. So maybe...
Yeah, you get that eye bleeding thing.
Yeah. I mean...
they had in Cloverfield.
Yeah, my ears bleed whenever pollen falls.
These giant lice and the pollen. It's killing us all.
What's going on? I just took this role because I want to be a teacher.
Mark Wahlberg from Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. We gotta get out of here.
There's so much wind.
No matter where we run, there's always gonna be wind. Guys, we gotta get out of here.
We gotta get in the house. Why are we out in the open? There's wind coming. Why is this window open?
I kind of wonder whatever happened. You know, it's curious that he says I kind of wonder whatever happened now that we know that the Cloverfield movies occur in kind of a shotgun timeline as well.
I have no idea how those things get to Earth. I've watched all 3 of those movies, and I have no idea.
Because it's a paradox. It's just like all through time, these things are just happening. Apparently,
that movie,
maybe they took out the dinosaurs.
That Paradox movie, Cloverfield Paradox, just was so mediocre.
Wasn't good.
I basically I was like, I like this cast, and I am excited for this movie. And then nothing happens.
It wasn't good writing at all. The writing was just... Blech.
They definitely turned into a Cloverfield movie after the fact. It's like someone writes Harry Met Sally and they're like, hey, guess what? Throw a monster in at the end. And Billy Crystal's like, what?
It's like for the horror fans out there, this is like Hellraiser 5, 6, and 7, and 8. They have nothing to do with the other Hellraiser movies. We just threw in Pinhead in a box.
Just a really tall monster at the end. That monster was huge.
It was a big guy.
So, it's not really a question. So what happened to them?
Yeah, so I kind of wondered what happened to the giants in Cloverfield. Think I want them to be huge, nasty trees.
Oh, so that's more of a thought.
I just love it. I'm just reacting to it. Yeah, it's like I think I want them to be huge. Like they turned into trees.
I guess the answer is please don't let me think about Cloverfield Paradox anymore.
Let's go to the third question.
I can't do it.
Our third question. Did I cut you off? Did you have more magic to sprinkle on this?
Get me out of here.
Okay, all right. So, another guy gives us a lot of support in social media on Facebook and Twitter. This is filmmaker Isaac Thorne. He asks, Pumpkinhead versus Stripe from Gremlins. Who wins? This is interesting because Pumpkinhead is like an 8-foot-tall gangly thing. And Stripe is kind of ripped, but kind of gangly, but he's only 2 feet tall.
Pumpkinhead's tied to somebody else too, right?
So sort of, yeah. Like, so when Lance Henriksen dug him up, when he had the Swamp Witch, do the ritual and then had him, summons Pumpkinhead, Pumpkinhead could only be killed if Lance Henriksen was killed. Or vice versa. Their lives were linked.
Gotcha. So, he's just so slow, Pumpkinhead, man. I was watching clips. I gotta go Stripe. He would get wet. He would spit out more of them things, and then they would spit out more of them things. There would be apocalypse, and Pumpkinhead would get overrun eventually.
That's actually very fair. I was really just viewing it as Stripe.
Well, he's fast. Like, he's like, Baby Groot climbing all over, or no, Rocket Raccoon climbing all over Groot. Like, he's just flying all over him.
I mean, he would, but Pumpkinhead is tough, and eventually he might get a hold of him. If Billy's mom can get a hold of a gremlin, Pumpkinhead can get a hold of a gremlin over time.
Yeah, but Stripe is smart. Stripe knows what's up.
Pumpkinhead isn't dumb, is he? I don't feel like he's dumb.
I think the numbers game was get him, because when they were in that area they were shooting at, there was a lot of dew.
That's right. It was in a swamp.
It was a very dewy area. So if
they were like in Louisiana or something.
So if you place him in that area, he's getting wet immediately. And he's going to spit out little things. We're going to spit out other little things. And it's just going to be a numbers game.
What if it's salt water and that doesn't work for that?
Do we know that?
No, I just said what if.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I mean, he just walks through some dew. He spits out more. They spit out more, and it's an apocalypse.
Yeah, there's a lot of dew. Oh, man, how does dew work with do gremlins exist in the desert? I mean, even in the desert, you can get monsoons once every year or two.
Yeah, they're one of those animals that you almost have to keep in captivity. They're like kudzu.
You know what? It's like one gremlin on Earth. One gremlin would be what I was musing to be the tribble factor for those little remora lice on the Cloverfield monster in the first Cloverfield. They would just multiply and take over the damn planet. Really, it's honestly not feasible at all that Billy succeeded in thwarting the Gremlin Empire, because a couple of them would have been outliers that wandered away, even though they're social critters. Like, one of them would have been out taking a pee. You know what I mean? Like, one of them would have wandered off and seen a butterfly. It was winter or whatever, but you know what I mean? It would have seen something or chased a cat. Like, one of them wouldn't have been there and would have watched everything explode or watched them all melt in the pool or whatever, or explode in the movie theater, however you want to take it. But, like, there would have been others.
Yeah.
That would have taken over the world. We would have had to atomic bomb the crap out of a whole continent to solve the gremlin problem.
Yeah, and they were in different houses. I mean, it's a good thing they all love movies.
Like, what if one of them got lost? Like, they're just following each other to the movie theater, and one of them stopped to pee and got lost. And he doesn't have GPS on his phone.
And some of those gremlins are kind of dumb. Some are smarter than others.
Right, especially in part 2.
I just think the numbers game. 1-on-1, I get it. But in the location they're at, with all the dew, he's going to get wet, and he's going to pop a bunch of things like popcorn all over the place.
Yeah, 1-on-1, I'd almost call it a stalemate, though. That was I wasn't thinking of the multiplication factor. I viewed it as a stalemate because Stripe is so wily.
Yep. Stripe would wear him down. Stripe would never attempt a straight-on attack.
But can you wear Pumpkinhead down? He is a summoned demon.
I think he could. I think the thing would get so annoyed. I mean, demons get annoyed.
I agree. A demon can get annoyed. I'm just saying he might have a constitution where he actually never tires, but his patience is a different story.
I mean, get that.
Like, at some point, the pumpkin is just like, "You are so annoying," and Grum's like,
"Oh yeah, baby,"
and then he high fives the salacious Crumb.
Yeah. "Oh yeah, where's Dave Thompson?" All right, so I'm calling Stripe.
Yeah, I agree. I think the answer to this question is a plague swarm of gremlins.
Let's get into the topic.
We've been talking a lot about creatures.
Yeah, we have. I wonder why.
We should talk a little more about them. Share our knowledge.
So, I wrote an article for Rotten Tomatoes, which almost killed me, but it was awesome because I had to. Alright, so with A Quiet Place coming out, I wrote an article about creature features. And we were looking into 2 questions. So, does the amount of screen time given to a creature help or hurt a movie's tomato score? Does it matter when the creature gets its first "this is me" money shot? So, my goal was to see if the amount of screen time and when the creature was fully revealed matter in regards to a creature feature.
Can I ask you, before you started looking into this?
Yeah.
Barring exceptions, because you know the movie Jaws really well and how Jaws worked, you know how other movies played the game too, but what was your gut instinct? Because when I read those 2 criteria, the first thing I thought was, all things being equal, I think that showing the creature earlier and giving it more screen time will probably go hand in hand and probably mean you have a bigger budget and probably mean it'll be more successful. I just went that way.
Yeah, you know what's weird is I went into this I didn't expect the result. I guess in my brain, I was thinking about the Ritual, which I watched recently, Jaws, Alien, the classics that unleash their monsters after 68 minutes, 82 minutes. So in my head, there's almost a stock phrase where it's like less is more. So I actually went into this, I didn't go into this with a particular goal. I just kind of went into it more with curiosity. I didn't have too many preconceived notions, but I did have a bias towards probably less is more.
Mm-hmm.
But that was pretty surprising for me because some notions I had were dispelled, and then some other so I thought Jaws had less than 3 minutes of screen time. Jaws is on screen for 4 minutes, 45 seconds.
Now, when you say Jaws, do you mean a notable silhouette and or fin? Like any evidence of Jaws?
So I'll
or do you mean?
Let me use I'll do the rules here real quick, and then I'll kind of break down what I did. So I went into it with certain rules. So we only counted the time the monster is seen alive on screen. Autopsies don't count. So for me, when Jaws was under the water, I didn't count that. When I saw a fin, I counted it.
Okay.
So the mere presence didn't count for me. And then 2, in movies like King Kong, 1933 and Godzilla 2014. The title character battles other monsters. We only counted the time the main creature is on screen. So in Godzilla 2014, I didn't count the Mutos. In King Kong, all the King Kongs, I didn't count the T-Rex. I just counted the main creature. And then movies like The Descent, Tremors, Grabbers, and Attack the Block feature several creatures. Anytime the creatures were on screen, the time was counted. So anytime one of the crawlers from The Descent were on screen, anytime one of the Tremors, anytime the Grabbers or its spawn that would become Grabbers, or the furry adorable things from Attack the Block. So when there's 100 of them, I counted not main one. I counted whenever they were on screen.
So you did this to 36 movies, right?
Yeah, it was
Were you watching with a stopwatch?
Yes. and I counted every second. And you know me, man, like I'm really particular about my data because my name's on it. So it was, yeah. And I did, movies like The Fly and American Werewolf in London were excluded because the main character becomes a creature. We were looking for people being harassed by monsters, eventually turning into them. So as much as I love American Werewolf in London.
If the protagonist is a monster, it is no longer a creature feature in my eyes.
Yeah. And like The Fly I love, but you have the Grundlefly appearing towards the end. So it's just, you're building towards that. And so I kind of left that out. And then I did no sequels, zombies, werewolves, vampires, invisible people, or genetically modified creatures who easily escape their enclosures. So
Jason Statham couldn't be one of them.
No. And I just think sequels, I just didn't want to count that because they're kind of going different than the first film. Zombies,
well, you know what else? Even if you have a sequel of a creature feature, but it's a sequel, you now know that creature exists. So unless you totally rehashed it with new people to draw up the reveal, you already have to go with it differently.
Yeah.
It makes sense that in Aliens, you see more xenomorphs on screen time-wise than in Alien.
Yeah, no, great point. And so I kind of stayed away from that. So those were my rules, going into this.
I think those are good rules. I like those rules.
And I pulled together 36 and I analyzed the use of their central creatures in an effort to answer the questions. I picked them because they encapsulate key aspects of the genre. So were they created by Stan Winston? Are they looked at as trendsetters, cult classics, or underappreciated gems? I knew going in, and I wrote this in the article and everyone ignored it on the comments, but I sound so bitter. Why would I sound so, 36 films, they don't cover the entirety of the genre, but I feel like the data pulled from over 80 years worth of creature features, I think it gives a good encapsulation of everything I found. And interestingly enough, 18, I didn't mean for this to happen. 18 that I pulled 36, 18 and 18. They're an even split between features that showed their monsters more than 4 minutes and movies that showed their minutes under 4 minutes. I didn't intend that. So that was a happy coincidence, actually, that happened. And I didn't go into this with an agenda. I picked Pandorum, Leviathan, Deep Rising, The Relic, Anaconda, Lake Placid, Jeepers Creepers, Eight-Legged Freaks, The Faculty, Mimic, The Blob, 1958, Ragnarok, Pacific Rim, The Ritual, Grabbers, Monsters, Signs, Godzilla 2014, Cloverfield, Bubba Hotep, Colossal, which I forgot to turn at Redbox, so I paid $25 for it. Now I own it.
Whoa!
Predator, Troll Hunter, Super 8, The Thing, 1982, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Tremors, The Descent, Spring, yeehaw, Attack the Block, The Host, Godzilla 1954, It Follows, Alien, Jaws, King Kong 1933. So that's my data set.
Most importantly for my data set, how many days did it take you until you realized you didn't return your Colossal?
I was at Publix and I used the reusable bags and I wedged them under my back seat in my truck. And so I was digging them out and the movie popped out. I was like, son of a bitch. So I called them up. I was like, did I buy this? They're like, yeah. I'm like, can I get a digital code since I bought it? I was like, is there I rent here all the time. Can I get a thing on this? And they're like, no, you bought Colossal. I'm like, it's not even the Blu-ray. And that's a movie I threw in at the end because I liked it. So
you bought Colossal.
Now, I like Colossal though. I love it. I think it's a very good movie. Very underrated creature feature. Do you want to hear the results of all of my studies?
Yeah, it was the results $25.
Son of a...
I'm sorry, I'm never going to let that go.
Son of a bitch. Alright, so actually I went for a run, and then I was like, well, I'll just put everything underneath my back seat, because that's what I do when I go for a run. And then I just forgot about it. But yeah, so creature features, we're podding about it, because I paid $25 for that movie. Alright, creature features that show their monsters for more than 4 minutes have a higher tomato meter average than those under 4 minutes. So, the 18 that featured their creatures for over 4 minutes have a 76.5% tomato meter score. And the movies that feature them for less than 4 minutes have a 65% score. So, I mean, 11.5, that's a pretty big difference between the movies. And they're all fresh, which is pretty cool. And the movies that feature their This Is Me money shot in the first 30 minutes have a higher tomato meter average than those that wait. So, if you show your creature in the first 30 minutes, you have a 77% tomato meter score. If you show them in 30 to 60 range, you have a 69.5% score. And if you show them between the 60 and 90 minutes, you have a 66.9. So, if you introduce them in the first 30 minutes, that's 77%. And the movies that introduce their creatures in the first 30 minutes are The Host 2006, It Follows, Pacific Rim, The Blob, Attack the Block, Bubba Hotep, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Pandorum, and Troll Hunter. And the only movie in that data set that was anywhere close to being super rotten was Pandorum, which was 22%. So if I hadn't included Pandorum...
Whoa! Yeah. Pandorum is only 22%?
Yeah, and if I hadn't included that, because it would have been much higher, because that 22% lowered it. So the movies that show their monsters in the first 30 minutes, that's a strong collection of films right there. And I'm not saying it's a big pattern, but within my 36 film data set, that's why it won. And in the article, I kind of broke it up into certain parts. And so what I did was I took the top 10 ranked movies, and I kind of talked about how it was pretty neat how in the top 10 movies in the list were Tremors, The Descent. So I'm starting at 10. Tremors, The Descent, Spring, Attack the Block, The Host, Godzilla 1954, It Follows, Alien, Jaws, and King Kong. So those were the top 10 rated. And I kind of talked about the history of creature features and how it evolved throughout the years. And what I thought was interesting, John, is that in 1933, Kong, then you have the original Godzilla, then you have Creature from the Black Lagoon in 54. I mean, these movies, so the interesting part is that Kong and Godzilla, they both show their monster at the exact same time at the 46-minute mark. And Kong's on screen for over 18 minutes. Oh gosh, I counted that. And Godzilla was on screen for almost 9 minutes.
Still a long time.
Yeah, and so it's kind of interesting how back in the day, when you look at movies, other creature features, Frankenstein or even like in the beginning, Nosferatu, these creatures were shown. So I wonder if these people, they didn't really even feel the need to hide them. King Kong, it's logical because they had to get from New York to the island. In Godzilla, you had to build up the paranoia of what's going on out here, what's going on with our ships, kind of build to that. So, and Creature from the Black Lagoon, you show it at about the 30-minute mark because they had to travel to the Amazon, have all that kind of stuff, have that break out. So, you introduce them pretty early, not in the 0 to 30 range, but then you just show the living daylights out of them. I mean, Kong was on screen for a lot, and every Kong since then, they've been on screen a lot. In every Godzilla film, they've been on screen for a long time. I mean, Godzilla in 2014 was on screen for about 10 minutes. So, these movies, these large creature features, and also Creature from the Black Lagoon, they really show their monsters. Which, I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. And I also like that Shape of Water influenced Guillermo del Toro, who shows the ever-living shit out of his monsters. I mean, you think Shape of Water, Pacific Rim, except for Kronos and Devil's Backbone.
Well, even his even his Hellboy movies had numerous and amply screen-timed monsters. He's a wonderful monster smith.
And you want to hear something interesting? His one original creature feature, Mimic, didn't introduce the creatures until 52 minutes in and showed them for under 4 minutes. And that's like his lowest rated original creature feature.
It's a shame that's low rated. I love that movie.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy that he normally shows everything about his monsters, and the average is very, very, very high. And he loves monsters. So he loved these. He was influenced by King Kong, Godzilla, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and because of that, he shows his monsters. So these movies, in the beginning, you just showed them. These monsters got a ton of screen time. I mean, you gotta show Godzilla. Kong, battles all these different monsters. And we were actually watching the clip in the 1933 Kong.
He eats his octopus.
Yeah. In the 1933 Kong, there's an amazing battle between Kong and a T-Rex where Kong pulls off the greatest single-leg takedown I've ever seen on screen.
You get caught up in that. I really just am wowed by his headlock game. And let me just say, When I watched that, what was it, like a 3.5 minute fight clip in claymation? Dude, anyone out there, and I'm one of them normally, who scoffs at like super old movies, like we're talking 50s and earlier for sci-fi, for like horror. It's like, I scoff at that. I think it's going to look dumb. Dude, this looked good. It was like they were studying fight tapes. Kong has got his like neck tucked and his head low. Like you totally believe that T-Rex cannot bite his head. When he's trying to bite his head, he can't get to him. He was good. Like that was like damn near UFC quality in claymation
in the 30s.
50 years before I was born. Yeah. And like it was actually awesome.
I'll put that on the when I write the thing for the site Movies, Films, and Flicks, when I write the podcast, what's the article? Head to the website and you can watch the clip, or just go to YouTube and watch Kong vs. T-Rex 1933. Don't watch it in color.
Don't watch it in color. It totally obscures it. It nullifies any interest.
But you know what's interesting though is I was reading. I've been researching a lot of monsters, and in Quiet Place they show them, but I don't want to get into that. But it seems like even the people that I was talking to at Rotten Tomatoes, and I was reading articles about AV Club, everyone kind of has this consensus that less is more. But when these films started getting made, it was more. More is more. And
right.
It's pretty interesting, I guess it's pretty interesting how a few films went against the norm and really changed people's perception of creature features, despite there being many more types. And I don't think people spent as much time with creature features as I did, but it's pretty interesting to kind of, once you move forward, to see how the genre has evolved.
Yeah, also with the less is more though, like nowadays, especially with all the different approaches we have to films, like I think the less is more you can't just pigeonhole that as to one thing. Less is more could be what you know about the creature rather than how much you see the creature.
And there needs to be, how about this? Let's take a break. You and I will research more creature features because I need that. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about less is more in regards to creature features.
I'm researching it less that I know more than you.
I'm not even looking at anything. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. We did no research.
Which means I now know everything.
And, the less you see, the more you know. Mm-hmm. Because the more you see, the less you know. So if you don't see anything, you don't know that you don't know anything.
That's like if I see all of the Poltergeist remake, I have no appreciation for that movie.
Yeah, so if I don't see it, I just don't know. But the more I see, the more I know.
I mean, because if you don't see it and you know it has Sam Rockwell in it, you're like, that's probably good.
That's an Oscar winner.
You're more. Then you go see the whole thing and you're like, absolutely not.
Sometimes when you see more, you want to see less.
That's right. Poor Sam Rockwell. I don't know how you got into that.
That's a movie I'd want to see less, and I wouldn't want more.
I don't want to see it again.
You know how sometimes you eat just a little bit of food and you're still hungry? That's how I want to feel with that Poltergeist.
Yeah, very much.
That was one of the most bland movies I've ever watched.
We should probably do a listener question.
Let's do it.
All right, horror enthusiast and filmmaker Scarescapes on Twitter, that's D. Carner, asks, when are creatures the most terrifying? When you rarely see them, this is getting into what we've been discussing, Mark. When you rarely see them, or when a designer spends a lot of time and money creating something unique and connected to the story, which makes me think of The Ritual.
So this is, I know I should express my own thoughts, but as I've been reading about creature features, I found a cool quote. One of my favorite writers for the AV Club was interviewing John Carpenter. And John Carpenter said something that really stuck with the guy. John Carpenter said, people say things like, the rule is that you never show the devil. But if you have a good-looking devil and it looks convincing, well, yes, you show it. So, the creatures from Descent, they're on screen for 7 minutes and 56 seconds. So, I love it. Predator, he's on screen for over 8 minutes. I think you should show them. I think when creatures look cool, go ahead and do it. Go for it.
I was just going to say, I think it just depends on the flavor of creature feature you're doing.
Yeah.
Especially like, well, I'm going to talk about ghost movies when I think of this, but it applies to a creature feature. But when you have the ghost movie where you never really see what's haunting them, when you hear the clapping and the conjuring and you don't see what's really doing it, these things are creepy. They cultivate dread and atmosphere. When you see something more, and again, this isn't meant to be a hard and fast rule, but when you see something more, I feel like you're cultivating a more energized movie, whether it is fun, jumpy, or whether it is just more, again, just a lot of nerves because you're constantly seeing the action happen. Someone's being chased. Someone's being hunted. You know, I think it just depends on what you're going for as well. And of course, there are different kinds of you don't see your creature a lot versus different kinds of seeing your creature a lot. But I mean, that's just an example, though. Like, if you don't see something much at all, I think you're going to cultivate dread and atmosphere more. If you see it more, I think you're going to cultivate atmosphere less and energy more.
I think if you're going to show it less, there needs to be a reason for it, not just because Jaws did it. So Jaws did it because the shark didn't work much. Alien, you don't see much of the monster, and you don't see the full reveal until, an hour and 8 minutes into it, because it starts as a face hugger, then it becomes a chest burster, then it grows into a full-on xenomorph. And I know chest bursters and xenomorphs are the same thing, but there's a natural progression to where they showed it.
There's another curious thing, and I feel like it's after we left the man in a rubber suit era, once we got into special effects pieces that weren't people in suits, I feel like things got a little more difficult and a little more expensive. You got a man in a suit that doesn't fall apart. You can film him a lot if you want to. Like dude in a Godzilla suit, for example. If you have grimy effects or this effect you're just doing the arm, this effect you're doing the head, this effect you have it tearing something apart, that stuff gets expensive. So the cheaper schlocky movies of the late 70s and 80s typically didn't show you any of this grime except for off-screen kills after the fact until the end of the movie. But I think they were doing that because they didn't have the money to do it sooner, and that kind of became a default setting for a lot of movies.
I guess we talked about the ritual. They don't show the monster until the end, but it works because it's about the men's journey to get there.
Oh, I love that almost felt like two different movies that worked well together.
So I guess when creatures are most terrifying. All right, so for me, just from my experience, the terrifying creatures for me are in The Descent, when you first see the monster with the grainy night vision.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's not a creature, but the red lipstick demon.
Right.
You see a decent amount of, and at the end he's in its workshop and you get a feel for it. So both of those creatures get healthy screen time, but I think they're just used so well. And I think the stories around him really connected with me. Descent, you're already stressed out, and then you introduce monsters. Insidious was about parents trying to help their kids from a monster. So I think the stories resonated from me. So I don't know. When are creatures monsters? Let me look at the movies. I don't know.
This is kind of bringing me back to your insights when we were introducing the creature feature, when you were reflecting on that. You were actually saying you thought you might see a pattern or you didn't know what to expect, and it turns out, even though you were getting a higher score relatively for certain things, these were not huge sweeps, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it was significant that more seemed to be better and sooner seemed to be better, but it wasn't like 70 to 50. It was like 65 to 55.
Can I ask you a question?
I think it's just all different. Yeah.
Do you think the terror from Jaws comes from the fact that it's a shark, or everybody goes swimming and now they have to worry about that? Is a shark scary?
I think it, even though I don't actively think of this when I'm watching the movie, you have me kind of self-analyzing a bit. I feel like I am terrified because I know it's in there and I know how easily we can avoid it. And I know it's because they're not listening to Roy and that stupid mayor. And so like they're running into something that I know is totally avoidable. So I get stressed out. The fact that it's a shark, no, it's got nothing to do with my anxiety about it.
And then what about Alien? So Alien, it's a good creature, very good creature, but they're stuck on that ship. Or they're stuck in a prison. Or they're stuck in a colony. The fear comes from they can't go anywhere.
It's the chamber. Well, it's not a chamber thriller per se, but yeah, it's the fact that they're stuck there. I agree that comes into play, but the alien though is a menace of appearance.
Oh, it's beautiful.
The mouth in the mouth, the slime, the weird kind of skin / almost exoskeletal like structures of it. Like and the twinned fingers. So the thing, it's almost like it has 6 fingers. But the middle 4 fingers are coupled into 2 fingers.
And it gets a decent amount of screen time. It's shown for about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's a good, for a creature feature, and I'm not even counting the facehugger. So I think it's shown on screen a decent amount. At the end, when it's laying there, we get some really good views of this thing.
Yeah, and that thing, I mean, it's elaborate. There is a guy in a suit, but they're also like puppeteering the tail. Sometimes they're manifesting whatever the slime or drool is. There's a lot going on with that thing.
And you know what the beauty of Tremors and The Thing is, 1982, the remake, is you get your first view of the creatures, big time views, when they're dead. So you have the dead Tremor who runs into the concrete wall and they dig it out.
That was great.
And that saves on budget because you don't have to move it around, and it looks better because it's not animatronic. So you know this is what we're up against. In The Thing, they do that long autopsy scene that goes over almost every aspect of the thing. And
yep.
I think that's a very good way to show you, like, listen, we built these, we're going to show them. So the best way to do it is an autopsy scene. Because that way, you have a beautiful looking creature and it doesn't have to move.
Yeah, I mean, they did it in that prequel that they said wasn't a remake, but it was basically a remake. They did it in Harbinger Down, which was basically a callback to The Thing meets Leviathan, and Leviathan was very much a callback to The Thing. I mean,
look at Jurassic Park. The Stegosaurus? No,
the sick Triceratops.
Yeah, Triceratops.
Yeah.
They're laying on its belly.
Yeah. All they had to do was the breathing, really, and a little bit of the eyes.
And Grabbers, they do a autopsy on
right.
The adolescent grabber.
And that autopsy was a lot like the facehugger lab scene.
Oh yeah, because you get to see the creature.
Right, yeah. When it struck me that they were emulating that in a great way.
Oh, wow.
Autopsy scenes. That's an interesting point. Yeah, the examining when dead. I never thought about that though. That's a really good point.
That was awesome.
It is it's a good tactic.
John, you and I, if we could do a high five via Skype right now, I would high five you.
Boom. We're going to do it like they did it in Demolition Man. Anyone who hasn't seen Demolition Man, go watch Demolition Man like yesterday. Oh.
Next question. What do you think? Richard Bell?
Oh my God, that's right. I totally didn't even realize that was all from a listener. So horror writer Richard Bell, who's Rick Nightmare on Twitter, and he's a Richard Bell Horror at WordPress. Rick asks, prosthetics, animatronics, special effects, makeup, and CGI are all at their peak of potential. Is it time to focus on script and story to generate tomorrow's classic horror movies?
100%. I know I'm going back to Jaws, but I read the book, The Jaws Log, and a lot of the dialogue, the classic dialogue and the songs and everything came about because the shark didn't work, so they were improvising on set. So because the monster wasn't shown, there was more time to focus on characters and the script. And then you have, recently, I know I keep saying it, but I'm gonna keep saying it, the Ritual, which I think had a very solid script. I think Troll Hunter works because you really like the core hunter. And there's a scene where he explains all the trolls in a diner. That's absolutely hilarious. And you buy in with the movie. Colossal has predators, or creatures. You really like the characters. I mean, Predator, you knew who the characters were before they started dying.
Yeah.
So I do think, and Bubba Hotep's all script, you need to make a classic monster film. You can make Lake Placid and Anacondas, and people can have, you can make fun creature features and not have strong characters, but there'll be a classic like The Thing or other movies like that. You need to have a good, tight script with good characters and a plausible thing that happens. So when you look at, I have a question, John. When you look at the classic creature features, do you also look at the characters within those creature features? So they kind of go hand in hand. So Ripley and Alien, Quint and Jaws, McCready, and the Thing.
The entire team in Predator. Well, and other people in the Thing as well, but McCready most, yeah. I think that was just what made a great movie back then. I'd struggle, I'm sure I could think of some. I'd struggle though to think of great creature features from like the 80s where I can't remember the people. I can remember great creatures in movies and great creature effects or gore in movies, but are they a great creature feature inherently, or just because the monster looks really cool or because there's good gore? You know what I mean? So like most of the movies have totally forgettable throwaway characters. And you know what else? I think that we're already seeing what Rick is asking for. Over time, it's one person's opinion to the next if it's more exceptions or more rule. But I mean, again, Grabbers. If you had no monsters in Grabbers whatsoever, and it was just those characters in a light comedy, I'd love that movie.
Yeah, everyone was so nice.
I mean, it was just funny. The weirdness of that woman who was the barkeep. Like, I could just see her in a British sitcom that I find charming that I want to watch every week. And then again, The Ritual, which we did, just, 2 weeks ago. Again, great characters, super cool plot. Pacific Rim didn't hit well with everyone.
No, bad characters.
But it was it was a good premise. It was a fun premise. It had nice ideas that didn't get explored perhaps properly.
Have you watched the sequel?
No, not yet.
Okay, I don't want to break it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I like the second one a lot more than the first one because the script is really simplified and there's a nice ABC structure that you just follow throughout. And you like the kids in the Jaegers, drinking Jaeger bombs, feeding those to Mosasauruses, Sea Beast Pod. But I loved how they simplified everything. So we're going to tell a creature feature, but we're going to do it with less plot. And I thought that was a shrewd and smart writing decision.
Did it not explore drifting more as the rumors were right after Pacific Rim dropped and they announced a sequel?
Drifting is going into the brains.
Right, yeah, when they kind of, wasn't that the term when they kind of cross minds and the stuff behind it? I thought they were going to go into that more.
I don't want to give anything away because I think they deal with it pretty smart in this movie. And I know it's a spoiler for Pacific Rim 2, but it left a smile on my face, so I don't want to go into it too much.
And while we're speaking of, focusing on scripts, this is kind of a touchy thing. Do you think that The Shape of Water is a horror movie? I barely even view it as a horror fusion. I almost view it as a dark romantic fantasy.
It's not a horror movie. I think if it was in a blockbuster, it would be in the drama section.
I think it's okay to put it in your horror movie collection. I'm not saying that we can't, but this came to mind. It's come up a few times in this pod already. It's like, you want to talk about focusing on the script. Focusing on the set design, focusing on everything, the music. God.
Well, we're podding about it next week, and I think I disagree with you a little bit about the script. There's
really?
There's a couple,
okay, all right, well, I'll pump the brakes.
There's a couple of massive things in there. Don't get me started. I love it. I love that it's $20 million, the production design, the creatures, the acting. Guillermo del Toro, I love him, but there's some, I don't know. We'll talk about it, next week. So, the second part of the article I wrote here, I just kind of covered Jaws and Alien, which we have talked about. But I guess I wrote that Spielberg and Scott both waited until after the 60-minute mark to fully reveal their monsters, and it's a very deliberate game of peekaboo that they're playing. Like, Scott's delay allows audiences to witness the birth, and this is for you, John, the birth and growth of a slick and juicy-looking beast, facehugger, chestburster, xenomorph, and Spielberg has us sitting or floating in fear of the unknown, unseen thing lurking below the surface. So, they did it very deliberately. I mean, in Jaws it's a shark. Like, in a lot of these movies, they'll reveal, like, the Relic, Leviathan, Deep Rising. And at the end, you see what it is. And there's really no need for that. So these movies, that it's the growth of an alien. In Jaws, you still know it's a shark. Like, Deep Rising, the movie has this awesome setup with this big old sea beast who kills ships, and then goes on a cruise ship, and it sits on the cruise ship and allows its tentacles to do all the work. Like, I would have loved to have seen more of the monster. That movie had a huge budget. So I think they could have shown more monster in that. And I don't know why that beast sits in the middle of a ship.
I totally thought that there were like 20 different monsters that basically were like a long tentacle because each one had like could eat.
I don't know. I know I'm repeating myself, but you didn't need to hide it. So I think people mistake how deliberate Ridley Scott and Steven Spielberg were with, hey, let's just show the monster later and less of it. But what they don't know is, I mean, Jaws was on screen for 4+ minutes. The Alien was on screen for over 3, and if you count the face hugger, it's on for over 4. So that's a good amount of time for a horror film.
I feel like you're teaching a lot of listeners right now indirectly about the methodology of making a movie. And because like what you're calling a lot or a little bit of screen time, they might be like, wait, Predator was only on screen for like 4 or 8 minutes?
8 minutes and 56 seconds.
Because in your head, the time when you hear it walking, you're thinking that it's there. The time when you know it's there, you feel like it's there, but not seeing it. You know, you're talking about when you literally see it. It's like when you were throwing these numbers at me, I was like, whoa. But when I hear the relative differences, when you're like, this got 4 minutes and this got 8 minutes, I'm like, okay, I can see that. I know I saw this more than this. But when you say 8 or 4 minutes, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I'm sitting here saying 4+ minutes is a lot of screen time. And it kind of is for the monster, but I don't know, I think a lot of people have just, they think less is more, but these movies don't really have less is more, and they're deliberate. And I guess the next part of the article I had was about Descent and Tremors, and how Descent and Tremors both took familiar elements of the genre and made them their own, and made them great. So Tremors traded out the Atlantic Ocean setting of Jaws for the wide open expanses of the Nevada desert, and features monsters that attack from under the soil rather than beneath the sea.
And there was more than one, so it did Deep Blue Sea before Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, hey, his hat is like a shark fin. Yeah, so I mean, also they introduced the Tremors at the 33-minute mark. So this movie has the wide open expanses, it has all that, but you get the Tremors there at the 33-minute mark. And what I really like about Tremors is that I like how we're learning with the characters. I like how when Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon first run from it, it hits the wall. So they're like, oh, it's dumb. And then they get attacked again, and then it waits for them, and then they have to pole vault their way out. They get to the town, they kind of learn. They learn that smarter, bust through walls. It can dig holes. And the fun of Tremors is just learning with the characters, because they're also likable.
Right.
And so
I do feel like we, the viewer, learn a little bit faster than Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon did. But yeah, I agree. We're going on the journey with them.
Right? No, but you know what I mean? Like and at the end when he's like, oh, I'm going to run and shoot it off the cliff. Like, it's fun. You're like you're in a roller coaster with these guys.
Yeah.
And so even like with Jaws, you're like, oh man, do not go out there. This is going to be terrible. We know what's going to happen. This movie, you don't really know. And I don't know, I enjoyed that. And then I talked about the Descent and how it swaps out Alien's claustrophobic spaceship for a claustrophobic cave system in the Appalachian Mountains. And it kind of replaces a xenomorph with subterranean humanoid crawlers who can attack from anywhere.
I got to go back, like wind myself back over 10 years in my head. But when I first learned the premise of the Descent, I just assumed it would be dumb. And you know the kind of movies I like. I just assumed it would be dumb. I just decided not to see it in theaters. I didn't see it until probably it hit HBO, which back then was well over a year after it left theaters. And that's actually, it usually took almost a year just to hit DVD. And so I waited plenty of time, and then I saw it, and yeah, I really liked it a lot. But just the premise, I'm like, that can't be good. But then again, Neil Marshall directed it.
And it does something very smart in that it takes 56 minutes to unleash the beasts, but in the 56 minutes before that are really tense and claustrophobic, and there's broken bones there. You know that these people are like under a mile underground, and they're most certainly screwed. And then you get the added gut punch of a humanoid crawler who Neil Marshall famously told the actors to go for the women's throats, the actresses. And then he told the actresses, don't let them get your throats. So when you watch the fight scenes again, and they're on screen for 7 minutes and 56 seconds, like the Predator who's on screen for 8+, when you watch these scenes, it becomes, you already have the breath out of you. And then everything becomes so primal and urgent for them. And then it also adds a little mystery because there's arrows in the caves, which is just enough to kind of get you thinking. And I just like how the best creature features take elements of the classics And not just copied them, like I'm going to show my monster late because Jaws did. They take their favorite aspects, like the desert. You have a creature underneath you, just like Jaws, but it's sand, not ocean. Then you have descent, and all badass women battling humanoid crawlers in a very claustrophobic setting. So I like how you have this kind of evolution of creature features that use the ones before them really well.
Yeah, they use them as building blocks instead of stencils.
It's perfect. Like and this is weird, but I compared Tremors to The Thing, from Tremors 1990 to The Thing 1982, because you're learning with the characters, and they both unleash their monsters in full shots in the 30 minute-ish mark. And then it's just them figuring out how to defeat it and what it is, with the blood test scene and those other moments. So it's kind of cool. You're learning with the characters, and when something crazy happens, you're like, "Oh my gosh!" Like it's I'm saying The Thing's definitely more intense, but they do end with explosions.
The Thing stresses me out every time I watch it. Tremors is just fun,
and I just like how I guess they're in they're just in it together. Like the scene where Roy Scheider's like, "I love the moment. It's a shark," but he goes, "We're gonna need a bigger boat." Like that's a great learning moment in a creature feature. And I feel like Tremors did that really well too once they realized those. And I don't know, I guess my next section was, so I went from Kong and Godzilla showing them a lot to Jaws and Alien supposedly not showing them a lot, unleashing them late, to the horror movies in the 80s and 90s, which the best ones took, like you said, they built off of the classics. And then this leads us into kind of like the final part of the article that I had, where the recent movies that have introduced their monsters early, and I used The Host, which introduced the monster at the 14-minute mark, Attack the Block, which I just know this off the top of my head. Attack the Block, which releases the creature at the 23-minute mark, and It Follows does so at, the 20-minute mark. And I guess what I like about Attack the Block is it's not really a movie about the aliens. It's more of a movie about like a coming-of-age story of these kids, these hoodies who live in a apartment block in London. So these monsters kind of help these kids grow, which I really like. And then The Host, when you saw The Host for the first time, were you like taken aback by how quickly they show the monster?
So I didn't fully know what The Host was. The Host came out in like 2006 or something. I probably saw it by like 2008 or 9, probably shortly after it got a US release. And I remember not fully knowing what I was getting into, that it was some kind of monster movie. And so when it was revealed as more of a random, well, not random, but when it's introduced, it's a random kind of mindless beast to me, like a safari animal from another planet that was unleashed in Seoul. I was like, I don't know what I'm watching, but this is a lot of fun. Like I already have no idea where this is going.
Yeah, I love, and then you kind of learn more about the creature. Then you have this wacky family going to save one of the girl that got taken away by the brazen beast. And then you have It Follows, where you kind of partially learn the rules 20 minutes in, and then the monsters is coming for you. So I just love how you have 3 movies that introduce their monsters in the first 30 minutes, but they're all completely different, and the stories are completely and utterly different. And I like how these directors did that. And I think today, with a lot of these monster movies, you have these people who grew up with monster movies now having the technology, and they're making really interesting creature features. So,
yeah.
Go for it.
No, it's just an interesting trio of movies too to talk about it at once. It's not just that they're different, Mark. These movies are universes apart, even in maturity. I mean, Attack the Block is, as you said, this coming of age. It's literally almost an immature movie in the sense of its characters, and It Follows is the more a more sexualized maturity, and then The Host is a more familial or everyman kind of maturity.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool that I got to write about all 3 of these because I love all 3 of these movies. So I just like that when they get the mystery out of the way early, they can focus on character development and new monster details to sustain the tension. And the fact that they're like unmysterious menaces, they're like, I don't know, they're relentless attack machines. You know what they're running from. you do not stop. So Attack the Block, these kids never had a chance to stop. In The Host, they had to keep moving forward to get the daughter, and then It Follows, they couldn't stop moving. So they're all different, but in each film, these people had to keep constant movement. And they're pretty wide open spaces if you think about the three of these movies, much more so than a claustrophobic setting. So you have the suburbs of London going into a high rise, and then you have the wide open expanse of Seoul. Then you have the wide, then you have Michigan and Detroit. And I did track the creatures' movements in It Follows. And the AV Club shout out, and Bloody Disgusting covered it, so it's pretty awesome. But it's pretty, I don't know, I just kind of like how the amount of ground is covered. You have to keep moving, and it forces you to kind of not stop, which I like. And
did you put them together for that reason?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yes.
I put so much. I told you this article almost killed me, but I mean, yeah, I have a lot of knowledge now. So, but I guess to conclude with the article, I just kind of said, the tomato meter suggests that more monster equals better movies. Dig a little deeper, and the story is more nuanced. What the data seems to show most clearly is that, no surprises here, good ideas, good filmmaking, and awesome reinvention are key. That certainly be the case for A Quiet Place. That just came out. So it's just reinventing these classics. I mean, you're always going to step into other tropes. And I know it's kind of maybe lazy sometimes to compare other movies to other things. You can still use the same template, just use those as a building block. And I know we said that creature features that show their creatures more and show them earlier are better, but I don't know, if you're a good screenwriter, if you have good ideas, good filmmaking, like, it doesn't really matter when you show them. You just need to make a good creature feature that is not copying anything, and you're just more, I'm really repeating myself, like Leviathan.
It's a good creature feature.
Yeah, and so just make good movies is basically what it is. And I know the data points towards, more and show them earlier, but I mean, yeah, so we've talked a lot about creature features. I'm not good at summation, but I don't know. There's just so much nuance to the creature feature genre. It's kind of hard condensing it to 36 movies. But I wrote this more as an article to kind of get people thinking and talking and having discussions, not arguing about when to show a creature.
But, and we've said it a few times now throughout this episode. It is less more. You know what? It depends on the movie and the filmmaker and the style and the flavor. And are we going for atmosphere or energy or jump scares or adrenaline? Like, again, like we always find ourselves trying to converge on a common theme when the only common theme we really have today is that we're talking about creature features. After that, it's as variable as personalities on this planet.
And no, I do have one thought though. What I noticed, the movies that the lowest rated movies on the list were the ones that showed their monsters after an hour. Do you think that's because they were kind of mimicking a certain type of film, and that's
were
why?
They lower budgeted?
No, I mean, we had Deep Rising, which had a big budget. I mean, Leviathan was not a small budget, and then and another movie that also had a big budget. So there's 3 big budget movies that introduced their monsters late. So it seemed like they were just kind of mimicking a formula.
Yeah, that could be. Well, I think that Leviathan, that was moderately budgeted. Yeah. Like, I feel like Leviathan was just going with the old school paradigm. And Leviathan did come out in like 87-ish. It came out in an era where the lower budgeted movies were usually saving it to the end.
Yeah.
So maybe it just fell there. Even though it had a bigger budget, it's like, we're going to save it to the end, and then we're going to give you the real deal. Like, it's going to look way badass. But maybe that was just the approach they went with. Maybe they actually had kind of a budget issue where the ideas they had for their final monster set pieces cost so much that they had to pull out ideas they had for introductions earlier. I'm making this up. Note the dubious inflection in my voice.
It's kind of interesting, though, the movies that do show it later had the lower, I mean, not in general, but the ones in my data set. So I guess, maybe I could pursue that further, but I don't know, who knows. Do you want to, actually, we have 2 listener questions. Do you want to finish up the podcast with those?
Yep, yet 2 more wonderful contributions this episode. Not that we don't every episode. I'm just always shocked by how many people come out and want to share their ideas. So this is from The Watcher on Twitter. You can find them at Cirrus Project. The Watcher asks, in your opinion, could a modern horror film work with practically no gore and use sudden shock filming sequences instead?
Yes, and the Insidious movies are proof.
That was the first thing I thought of.
I mean, they're making the fifth one right now because the fourth one made $187 million worldwide.
The Insidious films, The Blair Witch Project, the first one, The Visit, Willow Creek. I just had to think to pull these out. I didn't just think of these off the top of my head, but these are goreless, bloodless movies. And they cultivate a lot of dread and a lot of shock and a lot of scares.
I mean, even the Conjuring films, I wouldn't say are too bloody and gory.
Yeah, we see like the hanging witch's feet in the background, which is more of a jump scare. And then when we see the possessed woman's face, that's a little messed up, but it's not so much a gore effect. Correct. Yeah.
I will say that the Annabelle prequel had some crazy stuff in it, dude. The dude's hands got snapped. But yeah, absolutely. I think it could work nowadays. I mean, they do work nowadays. Get Out wasn't the goriest of films, was it?
No, but it just got a little, the fight with the brother. Oh yeah. Remember the fight with it was the fight with the brother and then all the gunshots in the super long driveway out at the end. But those were two limited things. When he shot his girlfriend in the gut and when he hit the brother, that crazy brother, over the head with something heavy, some desk piece. Yeah. Who has such a nice basement office, by the way? I get that they were wealthy, right? But that was a super nice basement office. I gotta move to New England and win a lottery or a Powerball or something. But yeah, no, it happens. I think it's really uncommon, but I don't think it's uncommon because it's hard to do. I think it's uncommon because people just don't go. They're like, oh, I'm making a horror movie. People are going to die. There's probably going to be blood.
Maybe that's why the Insidious movies have been so successful. The Insidious movies also introduced, I know they're spirits, but they're monsters too. So they're interesting, I don't know, I like how they combine multiple elements. And I guess Conjuring has done that as well with Annabelle, The Nun. They're making a Nun movie this year.
I don't know about that Nun movie, but I'm going to go see it. I do not know. And I think I heard rumors they're going to do The Crooked Man from Conjuring 2.
Oh, brother.
Which is interesting because The Crooked Man was just a fallacy, like a suit worn by our evil spirit.
Yeah. They're really doing that?
I don't know. I saw it going around Reddit like a year ago.
Wow.
No one was calling it out or revealing it as fake.
I mean, make that money.
I mean, maybe it was something that was a production idea that never got a green light, because I haven't heard anything in the last year probably. Just that movie's just making a universe.
The Waniverse. If you think about what he did with James Wan, he directed Saw, he did Insidious 1 and 2, Conjuring 1 and 2. So that's 5 movies. Then there was 8 Saws. There's been 4 Insidious movies. 2 Conjuring movies.
2 Annabelle movies.
And now The Nun. So 17 movies? So he directed 5 movies and 17 have come from that.
It's like his only horror movie that didn't get a sequel or a spin-off or anything was Dead Silence, and I actually loved that.
Yeah, which is tailor-made for more. So yeah, I mean, the Waniverse.
That could have, if that was made in the 80s, there would have been a part 6. Something like that.
Hey, that actually leads into our next question really well.
Another question from Rick Nightmare, that's Richard Bell. We see the same cult figures at all horror conventions. Freddy, Chucky, Jason, Leatherface, Pinhead. But who's next? Where are tomorrow's icons?
So in the 70s, there was Leatherface and Michael Myers. And in the 80s, there was Chucky, Jason, Freddy, Hank, Steve, Ricky Bobby. Pinhead, 90s, Candyman, Ghostface, 2000s, Jigsaw. I mean, I guess the next person could maybe be whoever the Waniverse creates or the Slender Man. But there aren't too many, there aren't really any icons right now as far as horror goes. It doesn't seem to be going that direction, right?
Yeah, it's like there's Victor Crowley, but that's not super mainstream from the Hatchet movies. There's 4 of those. But something that's interesting, can you think of many major horror heroes from the 80s or 70s who persisted through franchises? Because in the modern era, I can think of Alice from the Resident Evil series, the Warrens from the Conjurings, Elise from the Insidious movies. Have we just shifted into an era of horror heroes rather than horror icons being the villains?
Yeah, and I guess you're right. I mean, there was like Laurie Strode, but she was done in 78 and she came back in 98. But I can't think of too many horror You're right. I think we are kind of moving towards, I mean, it's all ebb and flow. Maybe we are. I mean, we've been moving away from horror icons for a while. They tried to reinvent it, but didn't work. I think that was just a place and time for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, things just might have taken a shift.
You know who's going to be the next horror icon? Bligluther, the troll lizard demon spawn of Belagrius from Troy.
What if Boagrius and Trantor, the earnest, scared, stupid troll, had a love child?
I would be terrified.
It would have the strongest deadlift in the history of strongman competitions.
But do audiences want that kind of Pinhead now? Do they want the villain as the eventual hero?
I think the answer is yes and no. I think what horror fans want is they want a horror franchise to work, and people keep trying to drag out old horror franchises or reboot them, and they fail. The latest Friday the 13th reboot was not well received. The last several Hellraiser movies were hated. And people want these old horror icons back because they don't have a new horror icon they can love to watch flaying, 20-somethings. Now, do we still need a model of flaying 20-somethings for good horror? Clearly not. We've had enough podcast episodes celebrating that we don't need that anymore. But at the same time, I think that the horror community does like having its horror icons.
I mean, and the horror genre does go in waves. Remember the Universal Monsters? That was huge. How many movies got made from them? And it's just like a cyclical type thing. So you make one legit monster, there's going to be another one. But it's kind of interesting how a lot of the best horror films now, people are kind of moving away from a lot of those sequels. The Witch, other kinds of films. Like they're not creating these worlds. Well, Creep. I like him. I think Creep 2 was really good.
But, another thing is that, the first Halloween and the first Nightmare on Elm Street, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, once you start to get into sequels, things start to get interesting. I'm not calling them bad movies. I like them. But they went from being films to movies to flicks as they got deeper into the sequels. I think that nowadays we just see more attempts by filmmakers. Yeah. And as a result, we're seeing fewer long-lasting icons. Again, except for Adam Green's Victor Crowley from the Hatchet series, which again, that was 2006, 10, 13, and 17. It was a pretty good wave of movies. So the fourth one just came out late last year. For all I know, we'll get a fifth. Not out of the realm of possibility. But that's that's the only super modern horror icon I can think of. There was Jigsaw, but that was after a big gap in movies. And the first 7 Saw movies all came out a year apart, except then the 8th one came out like a decade later and didn't have, wasn't a good Jigsaw movie, despite the name.
We're one hit away from getting another horror icon. It just has to happen. So I would never rule it out. I just don't know who tomorrow's icons will be. Maybe the Slender Man.
I think our icons are our heroes. I think it's the Warrens. You give me one more Conjuring movie with the Warrens, and they have 3 movies. That's my horror icon. We have Elise. She's my horror icon.
Our horror heroes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're just saying icon at this point, so why not? It's just that with horror icons, we were so used to saying they were villains. Well, I guess
so we do have tomorrow's icons because they're here now.
Yeah. And you know what else? Just because Ash versus the Evil Dead has done so well, we have Ash.
Yep.
Still. And lasting all the way from like 1980.
And Stan vs. Evil. I haven't watched it, but I like the guy. I like Dr. Kelso.
Oh yeah, John C. McGinley. Yeah. I like that show. It's a poor man's Ash vs. Evil Dead. Sorry if you're a fan. I love the actor and I like the show, but it really strikes me as though we're gonna put less effort into an Ash vs. Evil Dead show.
Plugs?
Plugs. God. We have so many of these great listeners. I just want to say thanks to all the listeners, man. All the people who give us these listener questions. Every now and then I try to rein some specifics with accolades. I don't want to be a broken record and do it every single time. But everyone who gave us a question this time or any time, you guys are awesome. We love you. We're going to keep asking, and please feel welcome to keep sending us more. Mark, where can they find us if they're just tuning in for the first time today?
Head to www.moviesfilmsandflicks.com. We've been writing articles since 2010, so look through our back catalog, look through John's Horror Corner, look through the dumb data. Check out all of our podcast episodes. Also, go to iTunes, SoundCloud, Podbean, Blog Talk Radio. Our podcast is everywhere. Just type in Movies, Films, and Flicks podcasts, movies, films, and FLIX flicks. Also, if you get a moment, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. We'd love to know what you think. And I'm choking on a cookie, and I'm going to leave that in there because I love cookies, guys. All right, so. All right, so
that
for
cookie
me,
gotcha. That cookie's the new horror icon.
Cookie shook me. I got cookie shook. Normally you go on longer with your plugs. And
Sorry, I guess, dude, you just tried to eat the ginger dead man.
He tried
to choke you.
My wife brought me some chocolate chip cookies, and normally your plugs go like 2 minutes. So I'm like, I got time. And then you stopped really early when you went, I'm not going to mention any specific names. I'm like, oh crap, eat fast. And then the cookies kind of dry, so they got stuck in my mouth. All right, so for me,
we love you, listeners.
For me, Mark Hoffmeyer and John Levingood, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.
You got cookie cursed.
We'll maybe see you next week to see how this cookie works out.